Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1592.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. I'm revved up and so excited to share with you today a very special guest. He's got me a little hungry, and you're going to find out why. His name is Randy Wyner. Randy is a SoCal automotive enthusiast and the founder and director of sales at Chronic Tacos, the Southern California chain of fast casual Mexican food restaurants. That's why I'm so hungry. As the director of sales, Randy develops relationships with all of the franchisees working to continually grow the brand. Born and raised in Orange County, California, Randy grew up on authentic Mexican food and signature SoCal taquerias. It was his belief that the tastiest taquerias tended to be small, family-owned shops that led him to open his first taco shop using third-generation family recipes he acquired from a close family friend. Chronic Tacos was born when Randy was struck with the idea of made-to-order Mexican food that was both fast and fresh. I talked with Randy a little before our show. I grew up in Southern California, love Mexican food down there. I got to get down and try some of his food as soon as we all get out of quarantine here. We'll be back in a minute to talk with Randy, but first a word from our sponsors that make this show possible. So sit tight, keep your appetite up. We're going to have some fun talking tacos and cars today. So we'll be right back. Did you know Covercraft is much more than car covers? They offer protection for the inside of your vehicles too. Sunscreens to keep your vehicles cool and protected from the sun's damaging UV rays. Dash pads that do the same so your dash stays looking new without all those ugly cracks and fading. The seat covers that are easily removed for washing are awesome, but it's their custom fit floor mats that I really love. Is your vehicle getting a little long in tooth? Well, there's no better way to give it a new car look than with a custom fit floor mat and trunk mat. I replace mine every few years with something a little different, contrasting, just to have some fun. It stops that urge to buy a new car, and more importantly, it protects the factory carpets, so when it's time to sell your vehicle, it looks brand new. They're easy to clean, they secure to the floor for safety, and they look oh so good. Don't forget your trunk, too. Custom fit trunk liners for sedans, coupes, and SUVs are perfect protection for the factory carpets from all those things that can stain and damage the floor of your vehicles. Check out covercraft.com for a huge number of styles, colors, and options that'll make you smile. And I've got a deal for you. If you use the code YEAH120, that's YEAH120 at covercraft.com, you get 10% off your Covercraft order. So go to covercraft.com today and use the code YEAH120 at checkout. Tell them Mark sent you. That's covercraft.com. Covercraft, they've got you covered. The fourth annual Saratoga Motorcar Auction will take place on Friday, September 18th and Saturday, September 19th. It will be held at the Saratoga Performing Arts Center in the beautiful Saratoga Spa State Park, located in upstate New York. Presented by the Saratoga Automobile Museum, a not-for-profit institution, this live event continues to be the premier collector car auction for the northeastern United States. Proceeds from the auctions help support the museum's educational programs and exhibits that engage, educate, and inspire the automotive community. To consign your vehicle, view current inventory, and register to bid, visit SaratogaMotorcarAuctions.org. There you can learn how finance partner JJ Best Bank and insurer partner Hagerty can help put you in your dream vehicle. That's SaratogaMotorcarAuctions.org. What do you do after running a race team for 27 years with over 100 professional wins, multiple wins at the 24-Hour of Daytona, and a win at Le Mans? Well, if you're Kevin Buckler, a racer and the racing group's team owner, you create Adobe Road Winery. Located in Petaluma, California, he and his team have created a winning combination with the Racing Series, 4 ultra-premium red wine blends that are in a class of their own. Like racing, these wines comprise of art, precision, engineering, science, and a whole lot of fun. You can choose from 4 blends titled Redline, Apex, Shift, and the 24. Today I'm going to tell you about Redline. It's a rich and complex blend delivering a taste of ripe blackberries, black cherry licorice, and a hint of toasty oak. An added very cool option is that this features the world's first interactive wine label. That's right. When you pour the wine, the 3-dimensional tachometer actually hits the red line. It's incredible. The Racing Series is a killer gift for the automotive enthusiast in your life, and I've got a deal for you. If you use the code CARSYEAH, all one word in all caps, when you go to checkout, you'll get $10 off any purchase of wines from the Racing Series. The wine ships promptly and arrives quickly right at your door. Use the code CARSYEAH at checkout for $10 off of your purchase today. There's always a seat at the table for excellence with the Racing Series. Go to adoberoadwines.com and use the code CARSYEAH to save $10 today. Cheers! Hey, Randy, welcome to Cars Yeah. Are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
Mark, I'm buckled up. I got a taco in my hand, and I'm ready to roll.
All right. Well, now I'm really hungry because it's getting toward dinner time here, and I would love nothing more to sit down and talk cars with you and have a taco, maybe a Corona, a cerveza, something kind of fun. But we'll do it over the phone here, over Skype, and we'll learn a lot more about you and your business. But before we get started, I want to ask you this. What's one little thing that most people don't know about you, Randy?
All right, I'm going to tell you something now. Don't laugh, but a lot of people don't know this, but I love horseback riding.
Horseback riding. Wow. Is that something that you do for fun or something you did as a kid?
Yeah, so I grew up, and there was horses around. My friends' moms had horses, so there's always horses. And I would get on the back of them and have a good time. But when I grew up, I would go, if I'm ever in Cabo, I'm riding horses on the beach, full, just running, like about to fall off, danger zone. But I've always loved, getting on a horse and going, through trails. So, down here in Orange County, San Juan Capistrano has amazing little trails to go on horses. So I try to go do that as much as possible. But a lot of people don't believe me when I say I love horseback riding. It's like this passion I have. I want some horses. I want to have a little dude rant.
Well, you can always do that. The thing about horses, though, versus cars is horses need constant 24/7 cares. If you're bored with a car, you could just park it for a year and come back and drive it later. Horses are a lot of work. Oh my gosh, but they're certainly fun. I used to ride horses on the beach when I was living down in San Diego. I had a kind of a semi-girlfriend. At least I wanted her to be my girlfriend. I don't think she got the idea, but she had some horses and we would go riding from some stables there in Del Mar, and we'd take it out by the Del Mar Fairgrounds and ride on the beach there. It was really fun. I understand.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. Well,
I love it.
I have no doubt someday you will have your own dude ranch. You'll serve tacos for lunch and maybe quesadillas for dinner and ride horses there. It sounds like a marvelous idea to me.
Love it.
Well, let's start here with a success quote or a mantra, some kind of saying that has meaning for you. Maybe it applies to the success you have in life. It's a nice way to get the tires turning here on cars, or the horses running. So, Randy, grab the wheel or the reins.
Well, let me see. So my quote is going to be, if you ain't first, you're last. And that's quoted from famous Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby. Well, it's kind of appropriate since finally they're running some NASCAR races again with all this quarantine. Let me ask you, you're in a business sector, number one, restaurant industry. Oh my gosh, that's a tough business. Number two, at a pandemic where they close everything down. And we're going to talk about that effect on you and your business in a second. But also, Southern California, there's a lot of Mexican food restaurants, a lot of great food down there. So how on earth do you position yourself to be first in such a competitive, challenging market?
That's a great question. And, you've got to be on top of your food, your service. There's a lot of mom and pops, Mexican food restaurants out there. And they're coming up with some really awesome recipes. They're bringing in these really cool chefs for these fast casual restaurants. So we're constantly competing with these one-offs. And part of our brand is being cool and edgy and being different. So, we really focus it around the Day of the Dead. We do, all our recipes are third generation from one of my best friends growing up with his grandma's recipes. So we kept the recipes the same, but you've got to evolve, and you've got to keep the way the restaurant looks, and you evolve with new lighting, new colors, new paints, and you always want to be on top of, what's cutting edge is what I say. But that's what's important is consistency, the brand, and, making sure that when a customer comes back, they get the same thing that they got the last time. But, that's how I feel on how to stay ahead and be number one, is just always in it, always involved, and always knowing you've got to evolve.
Yeah. This is an important point for any kind of business, whether it's the food industry, automotive industry, whatever. Change is good. You've got to be evolving all the time. When I was in business school, I had the real pleasure of getting lectured to one day. They had a guest lecturer come in, and it was a guy named Ray Kroc. I think he started a little chain of restaurants, or took it to a global level called McDonald's. And that's one of the things he talked about. He said, we don't really make the best hamburgers and fries and milkshakes, but we are consistent. Our customers, no matter where they are, they know exactly what they're going to get. And that's what they enjoy. The other thing was he talked about clean restaurants. People kind of like that. Makes them feel good about what they're eating. But let's talk a little bit more about this business of yours. First and foremost, Chronic Tacos. Where did that name come from?
Well, so everyone asks me that. That's always the big question.
Yeah.
So Chronic Tacos it means the best in I would say slang. So you've got like, oh, that's chronic. I want that chronic. It's so good. It's the best.
Yeah.
Excessive. You want it. You'll crave it. It's also a family name. So my first son, his mother's name was Chronic. We were never married. That's their last name. It's spelled Cronick.
Okay.
My last name is Wyner. So on his birth certificate, it was Jacob Chronic Wyner.
Oh my gosh, what a legacy. That's hilarious. Oh, is that for real, or did you just make that up?
No, that is for real. So we ended up, my son, when he got older, who works for us, he's one of our top guys. He's been with me. He was picking up tacos when he was 9, and now he's 26, and
there you go.
He's in operations, and he's amazing. But when he grew up, he's like, Dad, I really love the Chronic last name. Do you mind if I keep the Chronic and remove the Wyner? I said, go ahead, son. I get it.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
True story.
That is so
true
fun.
Story.
Oh man, that cracks me up. Well, let's talk a little bit about how this pandemic has affected you. I have automotive business people who own automotive businesses on this show, but I liked having you on the show, and we're going to talk more about your fascination and your enthusiasm for cars in a little bit later in the show. But I'd like to know, how has this affected you? How have you worked around this to stay alive, stay in business? And how are you feeling about where the future is going right now as things start to kind of ease, but kind of not?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think, everyone in business, small business to large business, it was the unknown, not knowing, is this going to go away? Is this real? Is this, so in the very beginning, when this started, this pandemic, we jumped on it, and we looked, saying this could be, what's the worst case scenario? Let's work on that. So, we immediately contacted landlords in all our restaurants and said, hey, we feel as, something's going to, people are going to stop coming to restaurants. We need to have backups. We need to watch our cash flow. We need to cut, costs where we can. We need to be prepared for closure. And so, we were lucky because we're a fast casual. So we already do a lot of takeout. And don't get me wrong, dine-in is about 50% of our service. So, people would say to me, oh my gosh, you guys are doing great because you have this big line out the door. And I'd have to say, well, no, it's just takeout, and we only let a couple people in the restaurant at a time. So it looks like you're very, very busy because you've got 20, 30 people waiting outside.
Right.
But it's, we're following the guidelines.
Sure.
So we prepared right away. And, my partner, Mike, really jumped on it on the financial side of it to make sure that we were going to be cash flow okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
whether that's, letting employees with less hours, but taking care of them. The employees is so important to take care of them because we knew when this ended, we were going to need them back.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So it was making sure you take care of everybody and your family and your employees, and making sure that you let them know, because they didn't know what was going on. So making sure the employees knew that, hey, we're going to get through this. And, back in '08 when the economy crashed, we went through it there too. And we thrived. We had, some stores that definitely we felt it in sales. That's the way it is right now. But we've learned from it. So we've learned how to perfect our takeout and our third party deliveries and the systems. And this has really put us to focus in on these third parties and deliveries and takeouts. And, and we already had all the systems set up, but it just got better. It was like oiling the machine, and getting it rolling and the employees getting used to that. Now our takeout is, you walk in, get your food, but there's no dine-in. So all of our time and went into the takeout and improving our services and making it better. And, I feel, and we see the numbers now, they're coming back. People are, the customers are coming back out. The guests are coming back to restaurants.
Nice.
Now, we didn't open our dining rooms on the East Coast. We opened up 10% of the dining room. Mm-hmm. Here in California, we still keep them closed because we want to make sure that we keep it safe. And, we want to have the adequate employees to make sure the tables are clean and sanitized. And there's a lot of rules and guidelines.
Yeah.
So, we thought, let's just keep the takeout going. It's paying the bills. And, we've been really lucky with our franchise partners. They've been amazing, across the states. We're in 3 countries. So from Japan to Canada to the U.S., we've got amazing franchise partners that, we're on the phones with them every day, making sure that everything's taken care of and they're okay, and giving them as much support as possible. But they were really good partners and had really good employees, and they all did a great job in this pandemic. And our team, our corporate team, our employees here, they're all in restaurants working, and we weathered the storm. And I hope it just gets better from now and doesn't go backwards, but we'll see how that goes.
Don't we all? Well, you dropped some really big value bombs. And again, being in the restaurant business, being in any business, if you're in an automotive business, the automotive sector, whether your business is small or big, one of the things I heard you say was to be prepared, be proactive. Don't just sit back and wait and see what happens. You've got to sit down. And the fact that you guys sat down and said, what's the absolute worst? Okay, how about the government says no more sit-in dining ever again? Okay, how do we change our business to function around that?
Yeah.
And then go from there. And I believe the companies that have been able to pull off some success after talking with as many people as I talk to every day are the ones that really think that way. They think, what could be the worst? It's kind of the old, what's that, the Boy Scouts motto, be prepared. Always expect the best, but plan for the worst, I guess. I'm probably saying it backwards, but that's the idea. So I feel so happy for you guys that you pulled this off and also supporting your franchisees and more importantly, supporting your employees. I hear a lot of companies say, oh, the customer's most important. And I've always said, no. It's your employees because they make your customer experience happy. And that in the restaurant business, all it takes is one bad server and they won't come back. They'll destroy it for a lot of work. So my hat's off to you guys for what you pulled off. Let's talk about a challenge or a failure that you've perhaps faced along the way in your business. Now, we've hit on 2 already, 2 big ones, the recession in '08, '09, and then the pandemic. Is there a particular situation in your life you've really kind of pushed you back on your heels that you came through and you learned a really valuable lesson that you could take forward in a positive way?
Yeah, I have so many of them, but I'll start with one of my first businesses I ventured into, and it was actually in the car business, and it was a valet company. Uh-huh. I started a valet company for Nordstrom's in Santa Ana, and I felt there was a need for parking these really fancy cars in this mall. Mm-hmm. So I went to Nordstrom's, I went to the general manager and said, I've got a great idea. Your guests can afford it, and all these fancy cars, they don't want to walk through the parking lot. Let me do a valet service here. I've never did a valet. This is my first business I owned. I had no idea what I was doing. And I just pitched it.
Yeah.
And they loved it. And so they hired my company. I walked out of the meeting saying, oh my gosh, I got to go get insurance and all this stuff and find employees. So I ended up opening the valet company, and it was really awesome about it is because I was parked, at that time I was in my early 20s. It was my first business.
Yeah.
And I was parking Ferraris, and my insurance would only cover so much. You can't park a car worth, a certain amount of dollars.
Right.
So I could only park it about 10 feet with my insurance, but it was still, it got me into cars a lot, getting into these fancy cars valeting.
So is that why they always park the most expensive cars right up front at the restaurants? It's because those expensive cars can't be moved away further than 10 feet?
So there's two reasons. The restaurants tell the valet to do that because it looks good for the business.
Yep.
So we'll park them up there. But sometimes, if you have to drive the car to another parking lot, like across the street where I was.
Yeah.
So when I parked, I had to have my guys drive it to a whole nother parking lot and then run back. And it was, it wasn't it was a good minute drive. So, But yes, that can be a case for some, depending on where it parks.
I see.
But I was doing very well with Nordstrom's valet. Well, all of a sudden, the other sides of the mall, Macy's and the movie theaters, that was a $2 movie, very cheap movie theater.
Yeah.
They wanted valet because it's not fair that Nordstrom's has valet.
Okay.
So the mall came to me and said, Randy, we're going to need to expand your operation. Oh. And at first I was like, oh gosh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
But then I started doing some due diligence and started, thinking the people on the other side of the mall, the guests, the customer, they can't afford valet, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just there's not a need for it over there where the movie theater was, and it didn't fit my demographic for my business.
There you go.
So the mall said, you have to do it or you have to close.
Oh, my gosh.
So
wow.
I ended up doing it, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And, I got lucky. I ended up selling it, and the guy did pretty well, but for me, it wasn't enough cash flow. It just didn't make sense to have to expand with more employees. And, you're talking 15 to 20 drivers.
Oh, of course.
So each station, it just didn't pencil out. And so I learned from that. And what I felt I learned was you have to assess all the risks that can happen. You've got to, if you don't fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Exactly.
And that's where I feel like I should have. I had it in my gut that this wasn't going to work, and I should have stuck to my gun.
Yeah.
And I feel I've learned from that. So when I have a landlord or somebody who says, you know what, you're going to have to do this,
mm-hmm.
I think it's important to hold your ground and say, you know what, this doesn't pencil out, and then do your research and have the appropriate data to say this is why. So I would have done things different. So that was a real lesson in life, I believe, in my early 20s on my first business venture. And I learned from that.
Isn't it amazing how our instincts are almost always 100% right? Even when everyone around you is telling you to do something else, that little voice, that little gut feeling is telling you one thing. And almost every time I've gone against that gut feeling, failure. It hasn't worked out. So yeah, absolutely. It comes back to that class I had in college with Ray Kroc, and he asked the question of the class, what kind of business do you think McDonald's is in? And people would raise their hands. Hamburgers? No. Restaurant? No. French fries? Milkshakes? No. We're in the real estate business. And then he went ahead to explain how the revenue stream works and what it was all about. And everybody in that classroom, we're all just kind of, young college kids. We didn't know anything. And we're like, oh, that's interesting. I never even thought about that. So, go with your instincts. Go with what you know, because we all know that McDonald's, just like a Starbucks, and I'm sure for you guys, location is key. You got to be in the right place. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Very cool story. Thanks for sharing that. Let's take a short break and thank our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to talk cars. Even though I wish I had a taco sitting here, I'm getting more and more hungry, but I got to come down there and visit you soon. So we'll be right back. Sit tight, everybody. My favorite collector car magazine is Keith Martin's Sports Car Market. I've been a subscriber for decades. Sports Car Market is the Wall Street Journal for enthusiasts and collectors. It's your monthly must-read, whether you dream of owning a collector car, maybe you have 2, or maybe you've got 200. Sports Car Market has been around for 31 years, and it's filled with valuable articles, intelligent write-ups, and the latest auction sales. Go to sportscarmarket.com and subscribe today. And don't miss my weekly podcast with Keith Martin titled Buy, Sell, Hold. It's the essence of collecting. We talk to the movers and shakers in the collector car world. Here's a couple deals I have for you just for listening here on Cars Yeah. If you use the checkout code Cars Yeah, you'll receive a 50% discount on your digital subscription at Sports Car Market. That's an exclusive offer from Cars Yeah. And guess what? Here's another deal. If you'd like to get the actual magazine, use the code BSH for buy, sell, hold. That's code BSH, and you'll get $10 off your annual print subscription. That's right, $10 off. Both of these are exclusive offers here at Cars Yeah for Sports Car Market Magazine. Just go to sportscarmarket.com and get your deals today. Let's step away from the conversation and talk about our charity of choice here at Cars Yeah, America's Automotive Trust. America's Automotive Trust is a group of like-minded nonprofits that are working together to preserve and promote car culture across the country. Together, they provide scholarships and grants to aspiring technicians and restoration artists. They provide youth education programs and bring communities together through auto-related events, car shows, and drives. Among these nonprofits is TechForce Foundation, a great organization dedicated to solving the technician shortage that threatens the transportation industry today. By providing career development resources and increasing awareness and enthusiasm for the tech profession, TechForce is bringing bright young students into the auto, diesel, aviation, marine, motorcycle, motorsports, and restoration worlds. To date, they've awarded more than $10 million in scholarships and grants to tech students. And in times like these, I don't have to tell you how essential those techs are, keeping our delivery and emergency vehicles running and keeping America rolling. To learn more about TechForce or to make a donation to this cause, visit www.techforce.org. You'll be glad you did. If you're listening to Cars Yeah, you've probably spent some time working on your favorite ride. But how confident are you working on your finances? You may be able to rebuild a fuel injection system, but can you decipher the details of a mutual fund? If you're like me, investments, insurance, annuities, budgeting, and other financial concepts may seem a bit daunting, but what if I told you there's a book that describes these subjects and more in an easy-to-read and a very humorous way? My friend Chris Kimball, CFP, a longtime sponsor and past guest here on Cars Yeah, has written that book, and it's titled The Saga of Eicken, a couple's humorous journey through the confusing world of finance. It's a fun look at things you need to know, everything from investing to effective ways to get rid of credit card debt, and it's probably the only book on finance with a VMAX on the front cover and a classic Mini Cooper on the back. The book's available at Amazon for just $10, and this book will dramatically improve the direction of your financial future. I gave copies to each of my children. All securities are through Money Concepts Capital Corp. Christopher Kimball Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp. Get your copy, The Saga of Eicken, today. All right, Randy, we're back. I would love for you to talk a little bit about cars because I know you're a car guy. You've had some cool cars. You have some cool cars. But what was that pivotal moment in your life when you knew that you were indeed going to be a car guy?
So I just turned 18 years old. I just had my first son, and I had to go get a real job. And my buddy was working at Jiffy Lube. I got a job at Jiffy Lube. This is a crazy story because the Jiffy Lube that I first started my career path is right down the street in Aliso Viejo, where my office for Chronic Tacos is today. I mean, it is a mile away.
Really? Wow.
Yes. I was 18 years old. I started at Jiffy Lube making $5 an hour, washing windows and checking tire pressure and vacuuming the inside of the car while they were getting their oil changed.
Okay.
I worked my way up at Jiffy Lube and became one of the youngest managers in the nation with Jiffy Lube. The franchisee out here owned about 14 Jiffy Lubes, and they took me under their wing and taught me everything about business.
Wow. Nice.
And I got to, work on cars. So I started out at Windows, then I became, the lower bay technician and doing transmission service and oil change and differential service. And then I was up top, selling, transmission services and doing, your four-point inspection. Very easy, stuff, but very fun. And I got to drive old cars, new cars. And I got to get in every single kind of car you could think of and really assess the car. And it was so cool. So I became a manager and I worked at Jiffy Lube for years. And they taught me how to run a business. They taught me how to read P&Ls. I don't have a college education. And they taught me business 101. And it was awesome. And I was so excited to have that and be able to work on cars. And I loved it. And, after that, I ended up opening up my valet company when I left Jiffy Lube. But
Well,
I always go back to those days with Jiffy Lube that I got to work on cars. It got me into cars, and I learned how to run a business. So it was really fun.
Well, it's pretty cool. So I would assume on your wall it says MBA, Jiffy Lube University, because
I tell everybody in interviews, like, I didn't go to college. I learned from Jiffy Lube, and they ended up selling all their stores to a big Jiffy Lube guy. But I wish I could run into them again and just say thank you to them, because it was a big life experience, and it really set me up to open up my own businesses and go on my own.
Yeah, when you work at a company and they take you under your wing and they teach you a lot of things, obviously it's because of who you were as well. Not every associate or employee has that kind of interest or aptitude. Some just want to come in, do their job, and go home. But you obviously had much greater thoughts in mind. Well, let's talk about your first really special vehicle. I know you've had some very cool cars in your life, but what was the first vehicle that you got that you went, man, finally got this thing?
Yeah, this is my baby, my car. So I've had a lot of different cars when I was young, and I think my first old car was a '66 Cadillac Coupe de Ville that I found on the side of the road for $800.
Yeah.
And that was fun. And then I had a 1964 Ford pickup that was nice. That was fun. But the car that got me I was mid-20s, and there was a 1963 Lincoln Continental on the side of the road in Costa Mesa, California. And I would drive by it every day, and I'm like, oh, I love that car. I love that car. But it was red. It was a big, bright red car, Lincoln.
Okay.
And with white walls, it's gorgeous. And I loved it. And it was $6,000. And
Wow.
At that time, I had no money.
Yeah, it was expensive.
And it was expensive at that time. This is over 20 years ago. And about 20 years ago. And I ended up going, knocking on the door saying, I want to buy this Lincoln. Does it run? And they're like, yeah, it runs. It just needs a battery. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this car. I don't have $6,000, but what's the lowest you can get? And they said, I'll take $4,500. So I go, okay, I'll be back. Don't sell it, please. So I leave. I call one of my best buds, and I say, please, I'll pay you back. I got to get this car. He's like, no problem. He loans me $4,500. I go buy the Lincoln.
Wow.
And it's now my everyday driver. I put a new battery in it, and I drove that thing every single day. And then I started a clothing company, and that red Lincoln ended up being parked in front of my clothing company, my warehouse and my shop. And it became like, oh yeah, Chronic Industries with the red Lincoln. The red Lincoln became known for Chronic.
Yeah.
And I put a big red sticker on the back, Chronic Industries. And I was a licensee for Disney and Mattel, and I had this big clothing outlet and warehouse. And my car was always parked in front, and it became a staple. It was there for years.
Yeah.
And so that is my baby, and that was the first classic car that I just fell in love with. And
those things had the suicide doors, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of car to wash and wax. I know, because I've done a couple of them way back when I was in college and making money to go to school, and those cars just go on forever.
Yeah, it's a big car. It's almost 20 feet long, 19 and a half.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Well, that sounds like a pretty cool car, and a cool car to have as kind of an iconic business visual for people as well. It's something that they don't forget. I'm going to get into your head a little bit here, Randy. If you woke up tomorrow and you were a vehicle, what would you be and why?
Wow. So if I woke up, I would be a Rolls-Royce Phantom.
Okay, there you go. That's a jump. A Rolls-Royce Phantom. Now, why a Rolls-Royce and why a Phantom?
Well, I had a Phantom, and it was my favorite newer car that I've ever had. And the reason why I pick a Rolls-Royce is because of the quality, and it's handmade.
Yeah.
And you cannot, compare these cars to, Mercedes. It's night and day. You can't even compare quality of a Rolls-Royce, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's just, to me, that's quality, and quality to me is everything.
Yeah.
And in being handmade, in a Phantom, it's one of their bigger ones. I love the big Rolls-Royce. It's a beautiful car.
I had never driven. Well, I take this back. Back when I was in high school, I had a customer, I was detailing cars. That's how I paid for my surfboards and my tacos. And this lady had bought a brand new Rolls-Royce Corniche when they came out in the 70s, the convertible, which is kind of a big deal. And she let me pick it up at her place, and I drove it back to my house. And I remember pulling up in front of my house. My mom came out and just about lost it. She's like, oh my gosh, you can't be driving a car that's this expensive. I think it was $150,000 in 1974. I mean, it was just more than I think what my parents paid for their house. And my mom was just having a fit. And I'll tell you, driving that car was cool, but I'd not driven one again until probably about 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. And Rolls-Royce loaned me a car for the weekend, a big Phantom, and I drove it home. You feel like a king when you're driving one of those things. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I spent the whole weekend driving all my neighbors around. Everyone wanted to come over and ride in the back seat. I put a lot of miles on that car in one weekend. It was certainly fun, but it almost didn't fit my garage. It was over 20 feet long. It was huge.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. I had a house in San Clemente, California. I bought my Rolls-Royce Phantom. I had a Bentley before that, an Arnage. Bought the Phantom. It didn't fit in my garage.
I believe it.
I had to move. I moved because of my Rolls-Royce.
Oh my gosh.
Into a house that it could fit in because I couldn't make the garage bigger because of where all my washing machines were. It was a nightmare. I couldn't roll my garage door down because the bumper stuck out.
Yeah. This car, I had to park it kind of at an angle and move two of my cars out of the garage. Yeah, they're big cars. They're big cars, that's for sure. Well, Randy, we're in what I call the last lap. I'm going to have you fire off some very quick answers for me and kind of like some quick blips of that phantom throttle. So here we go. What's one of your personal habits you believe has contributed to your successes in business?
Positive. I'm positive. I wake up positive.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Stay positive. Really, put positive energy out there and you get it back.
Great attitude. How about if I could arrange for you to have a drink or a meal with anyone in the automotive industry, living or deceased? Who would it be?
I think it would be really cool to meet like Mr. Harley and Mr. Davidson back in the day because I feel that they're just innovators and it would be so cool to have a beer with these guys.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, they invented this motorcycle and it was so ahead of their time. And I think it would be really cool to meet them.
Now, here'd be a cool thing. Sit down in one of your restaurants, have a cerveza with those two guys and the Dodge brothers.
Oh, my gosh. That would be awesome.
It could be a little rowdy, I think. How about the best automotive advice someone else has ever given you? What would that be?
Get a second opinion.
Now, is this on buying a car?
No, I've had cars so many times. One mechanic tells me one thing, another one tells me another, so I always get a second opinion.
Yeah.
And also on buying cars too. I've gone through cars that, you got to get a second opinion because if you get a lemon, you're really.
Well, I'll tell you, I have several friends who call me the car doctor, and when they call me or text me, the first thing they say is the doctor in? And I'll go, uh-oh, what are you looking at buying now? And their next words are, talk me out of this, please. So
awesome.
Now the only guy that doesn't do that is I do a second podcast called Buy, Sell, Hold with Keith Martin from Sports Car Market Magazine. We do it every week on Tuesdays. We talk to leaders in the industry, and he never asks for my opinion. He just goes out and buys these cars. He does, they have the pre-purchase inspection, the PPI. He does the PPI. Yeah. It's the post-purchase inspection. He never inspects a car. Always finds out there's all this stuff that's needed. I don't know why he keeps doing it, but that's his MO. Post-purchase inspection. Don't do it that way. Do it the other way. Yeah, get a second opinion. How about a resource, Randy? Is there a resource that's a good go-to for you that might help some of our listeners?
I love J-Star Motors in Anaheim. They sell cars. They've got anything you need, and they're just they're a bunch of great guys. Good family that owns it, and J-Star in Anaheim.
Okay,
I love those guys.
All right, we'll do a shout out to J-Star in Anaheim. Sounds great. How about a book? Is there a book you've read you think our listeners could learn a lot from?
This is kind of off topic, but I did an audiobook when I was traveling to Japan, and it was on humans. It's called Sapien, and it was just really cool to listen, how humans started and then where we get to today and just how humans evolved. It's pretty cool. That's what I got.
Yeah, that book, I think it's subtitled A Brief History of Humankind. Is that the book I'm thinking about? It's by a guy named Harari, I believe.
I think so. My business partner was listening to it and then got me started listening to it. And it was amazing. It was really cool.
My son told me about that book. Yes, I can't remember the guy's first name. It's something really different, but yes, definitely a great book. Well, I'll remind our listeners, I'll put a link to that on Randy's show notes page here on the Cars Yeah website. By the way, there's a place on my website called Guest Recommended Books, where all my inspiring automotive enthusiasts have recommended great books to read. There's over 1,600 books linked there. You can go there and pick out all sorts of cool stuff, just like Sapien, which you should definitely read. I need to read that as well. All right, we're up to the checkered flag here, my friend. I'm going to buy you a cool car today. I'm feeling very generous. I'm going to buy you whatever you like, whatever cool collectible car you would like to have. Doesn't matter where it is or how much it costs. But there's a few rules if you've listened to Cars Yeah. One is you can't sell it to fund another part of your business or your college education or whatever you want to spend money on. You have to drive it. I don't like garage queens. I want something you will enjoy. But here's the hard part. It's the only one cool collector car you can have. So it needs to tick all those boxes. What can I buy you, Randy?
Okay, this is what I want. A 1932 Cadillac V16 Fleetwood sedan. My favorite car in the world.
Wow. You know, you're a very eclectic guy. I find this very interesting because listeners, there's a rat rod picture you'll find on Randy's show notes page on the Cars Yeah website. That's a very unique mix of Dodge pieces and parts. He also talked about owning a Phantom. He's had Lamborghinis. But you're old school, my friend. I mean, I know why you chose this car, because if any of you have ever been around one of these things, they're spectacular. And I'll tell you what, I have friends who have cars like this that they make wonderful touring cars. They're reliable. They haul ass. They're super nice. They're quiet. They're luxurious, but they're very reliable. But what is it about that for a guy like you? I mean, it doesn't fit your persona as I see you, but maybe it does.
You know, I feel I have an old soul. And, the Rolls Royce is, the Cadillac of that time period.
Yeah.
It looks the same kind, but like you said, Cadillac, they're reliable. It's like sitting on your most comfortable couch going to the store.
Yes.
It's heavy, it's strong, it's built. It's not plastic.
Yeah, no.
It is right, and it's strong. And to me, it's beautiful. It's sexy. That's a man's car, and they built it so well. You just don't get that anymore.
So I'm guessing we're talking about the 425B. I mean, it's just
pretty.
Yeah, I remember seeing a green one sitting on the lawn at Pebble years ago, and I love that hood ornament they have of that. It's like the Spirit of Ecstasy, but she's leaning way forward.
Way over. Yeah, it's cool.
Oh,
so cool. Such a gorgeous car. That's my car. That's the one.
Okay. Well, I'm going to find that. I'd have a good time driving down the Coast Highway to bring that car to you. I will pull up in front of one of your restaurants and Chronic Tacos and enjoy some tacos and have a nice time. Nice choice, my friend. That's very, very cool. Randy, you've taken us on a great ride today. I've really enjoyed getting to know you better. I want to thank you for spending an evening with me here. Is there a little parting piece of wisdom or guidance you might offer our listeners before you cruise on down the Coast Highway there in SoCal in that 32 Cadillac?
Yes, I always say, do what feels good in life and always take care of each other.
Nicely said, especially in these times. What's the best way for our listeners to learn more about Chronic Tacos and where they can find a great meal at your restaurants?
Yeah, come to our website, chronictacos.com, and we're on all social media platforms. But chronictacos.com is our website, give you all the locations where we're at and how to get a hold of us.
Absolutely. Well, next time I'm down in SoCal, and I'm going to be coming down there actually in the next couple months, and my mom lives near you, and my sister, I'll have to take them both out to a lunch or a dinner, and we'll have a meal at your place. Randy, thank you for being so generous today with your time and expertise and for sharing your enthusiasm, your positivity. It's very engaging, and I really appreciate it. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you down the road.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah!